Hey AfterBuzzers, welcome to an all-new Shadowhunters after show here at AFTERBUZZ TV. Tonight, we're breaking down Season 2B, Episode 13, titled Those of Demon Blood. And if you're watching, I have someone very special next to me, Alisha Wainwright, you guys. Maya is in the studio. We have so many things to ask her, so stay tuned.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin!
Hello again, you awesome Shadowhunters fans. Thank you so much for tuning in to our after show here at AfterBuzzz TV. I'm your host, Sam Davidson. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at SamD43. And as promised, Alisha Wainwright right here.
Hey,
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
those that don't know, where can they find you on social media?
Instagram at Alisha Wainwright and Twitter at Wainwright AE.
And of course, Dakota T. Jones.
What's up, you guys? You can find me everywhere at Mr. Dakota T. Jones.
Becca Brown in the house.
Hi, I'm Becca Brown. Y'all can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV.
And of course, don't forget to follow AfterBuzzz TV at AfterBuzzz TV on all social media platforms. Use the hashtag ABTV Shadowhunters if you want to chat with us about the show or just tweet at us. We got your tweets for this week using the hashtag ABTV Ask Maya. There are a lot of them, and we are going to get to as many as we possibly can. Before we start to break down this episode, your fans' response to the show, I think it took all of us by surprise what happened in the end, which we will get to. But you know, some people were angry, I think. But I think I'm already looking in the chat. A lot of people seem to love it, including me.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Me too. All of us. Yeah. I was like, this is hot. Like, I was just
Actual impression of Dakota.
I was,
Becca.
Yeah, she hadn't watched it yet, and I was like, Becca, I need to tell you this. She's like, do not ruin it for me. And I'm like, that was like one time I almost spoiled it. But I was just I love whenever they take characters who we may have not thought that they would be together. I mean, like, you guys were polar opposites. You know, you tried to like kill him the first time we saw you.
Yeah.
Twice.
And you know, recently. And so
Third time's the charm.
Third time's not.
Right.
Third time's a hookup in an alley.
Yeah, third time is a good finale. So we don't know if, you know, you said something about like this is not gonna happen again or this is only happening one time or something, right?
So thank you. I'm glad you guys responded positively to it. I think the cool thing that the showrunners and the writers do is that they really work off of our natural born chemistry with each other, like all of the characters on the show. And Dom and I had like a little bit of chemistry from the beginning that they were interested in seeing, you know, outside of the book, what would happen if those characters had a more interesting dynamic. And so, yeah, that ended up happening. I think that it was a expression of both of their angst in the moment. And I don't necessarily think it's something that you will see a lot moving forward, but it is a definite, like, twist, you know.
Definitely. Whenever you just said that, her face was like, no.
I literally ship it.
I know. I ship it. I think it's fun. I mean, I know that, like, at this point, I'm not really for Jace and Clary being together. I just feel like, you know, her and Simon have been friends forever, and I just feel like it's something. I've been in Simon's position with a girl one time, and I've always wanted to, like, break out of that. So I kind of, like, want to live through Simon and be like, no, like, get the girl, you got this. So I love that they're together. I know that you and your character and Simon had, like, a thing, but I think that you and Jace are so, you've got so much angst and so much, so many things in common, but that's kind of what makes you guys clash sometimes. And I think seeing you guys finally just, like, give in and kind of do something about it, I was like, I can see it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of 2A and leading up to episode 13, you know, Jace's character had a lot of trials, and he really was looking forward to having an opportunity to be with this woman who he found out was not his sister.
Yeah.
And knowing that he can't have her, you see why he's just kind of needing some tension release. And I think with Maya, you're not exactly sure why she's behaving the way she is. They're kind of being mum about her backstory, and hopefully as the rest of the season goes on, we'll get a little taste of maybe, you know, why she is the way she is, and then it'll make more sense with why she too needed that release.
I like it.
Yeah.
Well, let's start off by talking about Simon's storyline a little bit. You know, the beginning of the episode starts with Clary telling him that she booked a show for him. at the bar, and I love how everyone just hangs out there now.
Yeah.
I know.
It was like the hangout spot of this episode.
I know.
Especially.
I love that.
I think it's great, and I love that it's my bar too.
Yeah.
Because I think me naturally, I love having people come to my home, and I love taking care of people, and so I think it's kind of, in line with who I am as a person, that most of the fun and interesting things that happen bar-wise happen at my place. So it's kind of cool.
And they're like, yep, that
I
happened
want
at
to
my place.
visit. I want to go to that bar. It looks fun.
It is fun.
And they have blood. It's like they cater to everybody. It's very inclusive, which I find really awesome.
It's their motto.
I thought it was very secretive though. It was almost like you had blood, but you weren't supposed to really let people know because you kind of went down behind the counter and just kind of
In the last
really
episode,
discreet. And I was like, wait a minute.
You don't need a mundane walking in and being like, I'll take that stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Whatever that is.
and you're like, okay, I hope nobody kills you. Goodbye. Well, after we find out there's going to be this concert of sorts, probably this episode, which amazing montage in the end we'll get to at the end of this recap, but Simon walks out with Clary, and there are these vampires that are already just wanting to follow him. They're kind of his groupies, and he's uncomfortable with it.
Yeah.
As I would be scared. I think he's still scared of other vampires, and the fact that they now want to have him be their king, essentially, is a bit alarming. And I just love where I think that is gonna go.
I think it's hysterical. He's the popular kid now.
Yeah.
It's like in school, everyone wants to be his friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, in episode 11, when Maya is encouraging him to keep it under wraps, and then that got squashed, and so now everybody knows, and he's saying that maybe it doesn't seem as bad as she had mentioned. So, that's surprising to him and me too,
I feel like he should still proceed with caution with everything going on.
Definitely.
Because he keeps getting the advice from everyone, and he's like, oh, I'm fine, it's fine.
Yeah,
It'll all be fine. I'm like, you say it's gonna be fine, but something's gonna go wrong. And
know.
the next couple episodes, I just know this.
I know
how this works.
I feel like what's gonna happen is they're gonna feel like they need to revolt against him or something, or they may feel like, oh my gosh, maybe if we bite him, we'll somehow become daylighters, or if they find out finally that what we think maybe why he's a daylighter is because he was feeding off of Jace, who has angel blood, and so we think that what happens if that, and then everyone wants to go after Jace or Clary, and then that could just be a huge problem.
All great theories,
Yeah.
guys.
Right?
Very
But
good theories.
I should say that one for predictions.
Well,
Dang it.
what's so fun, especially about this episode, is we are veering away from the books, so we don't really know what is going to happen, and it's a ton of fun to watch. One more, I just want to bring up the scene with Simon and Luke. First of all, I think the wolves are the smartest, because it is Maya and Luke that go, chill, dude. You gotta chill. You're gonna get yourself into a lot of trouble.
You're gonna get yourself killed.
But it was so
For real.
hilarious when I thought Luke was talking about sex with Clary.
I love that.
as
It's
well.
so funny.
And Simon goes, well,
Awkward.
I didn't
He's
think
like,
I had
"Can I?"
to. And I'm like, oh God, what is this? Are we having vampire babies now?
Oh my gosh. This is not Twilight.
Yeah. I was like, this didn't work out well in Twilight.
Yeah, let's
No,
just
it's
chill.
not.
But I did feel as though Luke bringing up bloodlust was a possible Easter egg for us in the future. Why would he exactly bring that up if it's not necessarily going to be an issue at some point?
I just think, I don't know about you, but the first party I ever went to, my mom sat me down and told me about all the possibilities of things that could be around me, that could be dangerous and or something that I'm not exposed to, and just to be careful. So I think, Luke is fatherly by nature, even though they're not blood relatives, and he's just, trying to make sure that on all grounds they're being safe, and he didn't mean for it to be a sex talk. And I think when I first heard that conversation at the table read, it had the whole room dying, because it's so funny. Like, what an awkward conversation to have.
Right in front of
tone is
everybody
perfect.
too.
It's
Like
amazing.
everyone's around, they have their distance, but people could overhear, and it's just awkward, and he's sitting there like, what's going on?
Yeah, and I love that both characters, like both Alberto and Isaiah, they don't shy back. They're both still trying to have the conversation. It's just they're realizing that like they're both having an awkward conversation, but no one's dying down from it. They're just like, well,
I love it.
It's kind of great.
Yeah, I think the chemistry everyone in this cast has shows in those kinds of scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is, there are a lot of group scenes. So the ones where the funny scenes that are one-on-one are few and far between, but they are some of the best. So we also see with Simon that when him and Clary are out and about, he smells blood, and we find out this entire Shadowhunter killing spree is going on, and they literally see these pieces of flesh of ruins.
Just like cutting the runes off, no big deal.
It wasn't cool, but it was, as far as a gory thing to happen on the show, it was interesting.
It's pretty awful. Yeah, it's pretty awful.
I was just not expecting to see that, and the fact that the like multiple people from different like downworld places are involved, like there's vampires involved. Well, we think at this point, and then like how we kind of think that there's more to it than just one person.
Yeah.
Right, because they have like bodies being wheeled in with like scratches from wolves and also from like a Seelie and so you're unsure if it's just one person or if it's like a collective,
Revolt.
Yeah, exactly.
What was this, revolt? Was this a knife, Dakota?
So I was meaning to put my pin up, but I just had a fist up, but it's fine.
Revolt.
Revolt.
Well, that's essentially what it turns out to be, and we get back to the Institute, and there's kind of bodies flying in of Shadowhunters left and right throughout this entire episode.
It was a dark episode.
Yeah, it was.
It was, but it also had a lot of really fun stuff.
It did.
They decide to essentially, they have a lot of friends, the Shadow Crew, and each of their good friends is not a Shadowhunter, essentially. So they go on their own journeys to contact that person to say that we need your DNA.
And everyone gets mad.
Everyone gets super mad. Everyone has a different reaction.
I don't know if you've ever had a significant other ask to see your phone, but it kind of feels like that, where it's like, why can't you just trust that there's nothing going on? It's like, well, I just want to see your phone. It's like, well, and I really but I really admire that scene with, maybe not to jump ahead, with Magnus and Alec, where Magnus, it's essentially giving him the phone. And then as soon as he's like, oh, okay, there's nothing on it, you're like, well, then go away then, because now you've crushed me.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of trust, when you break it, it's not really fair.
Harry broke my heart in that scene.
Yeah. He did. And, each person that they go to talk to is, again, very upset by this. But Luke is open about it, and he gives them his DNA right away. And he even says, if this was a wolf, I'll kill them.
Yeah.
I have no qualms with killing them if it was a wolf.
Rude.
Right? I was thinking, because then I was thinking, wow, like what if, Maya had done this for a certain reason? Like, is he just going to like kill Maya after all of that he's done for her?
I mean,
we've already been down that road.
Isaiah and I were joking, like, Luke has threatened the wolves' lives a couple times, if they step out of line, I'll kill them. I'm just like,
oh
dang, Luke.
I'm like, come on, like, have some love for your pack.
I feel like it's the tough love that he's showing.
Sure.
Unless he kills
That's
them.
real tough love.
He truly is like the father figure.
I mean, and also, being a pack leader is the way to become a pack leader is a very aggressive. You have to fight someone to the death. So, that kind of law of the land is not foreign to the werewolves. So.
Yeah, it's like you can't ever. It's like most people don't think you can just have like a little spat and like fight. Like it always has to be to the death.
Yeah.
And I was
obviously.
Like, I know. And for a second there, I was a little worried whenever
otherwise.
Jace and your character were fighting, because I'm like, this doesn't end well. This usually results in one person dying.
Me too. I was like, no, don't stop.
Or something very sexy and exciting. Speaking of Jace, though, he is the new head of the Institute and in New York sector. And I said a couple weeks ago, I'm just really ready for there to be a head of the Institute that we like. I'm so sick of all these people that we don't like coming in. And, we do find out at the end of the episode he gives it to Alec.
Yeah.
Because it has been a dream of Alec's, I think, for a very long time. But it was interesting to see him in that position of power and try to kind of battle his family and go with his grandmother, who's being really intense about all of this.
She is. She's getting a little, I guess, out of hand a little bit because she's kind of breaking some rules herself and kind of making her own way. And I think that kind of raises suspicion for even Jace or the others because they're like, wow, like she's really kind of making this her own and doing things that maybe the past leaders wouldn't. And so she seems to have like this little power trip, and I think that Jace doesn't feel like he wants all that responsibility, so he wants to like give it to Alec. But then again, Alec's worked for this for his whole life, that he probably doesn't want just like a hand-me-down. He wanted to earn it. So it's like a complicated thing, but I think that he did the right decision by giving it to Alec.
I liked Jace's grandmother up until this episode, and then I didn't like Jason Power.
Yeah.
He did not handle that well.
No, he didn't, and it's very, you know, it's a conflicting thing. I'm glad that he ended up giving up, and we're gonna get into how he dealt with it with him and Maya in just a little bit. But before that, I want to talk a little bit about Clary and what happens to her. I want to talk about Simon's excuse for not excuse, but his reason for not giving his DNA sample. Brought it back to the Holocaust, and I'm Jewish, so I like that Simon's Jewish, and they bring it up a lot, and that it's part of his character and his story, and it was an interesting reason to not give up his DNA.
Good reason.
Yeah, I think, beyond the literal asking, like, a part of you to, free, like, you are not being charged with anything. It's just like a preemptive. There's something inherently wrong about that. And I do appreciate that each character deals with it their own way, and they deal with it differently. So you can see all the different aspects of why someone would say no. They're going to say no because it's my right to not have to do that, and I will fight you for it, like libertarian style. So that's what Maya does. I will not do it because my family's been persecuted like that in the past, and I don't think it's right. That's why Simon doesn't do it, And then, I thought you loved me, and I thought you trusted me, and now I realize that maybe you don't trust me as much as you do, and so for that reason, I'll give it to you, but I'm not happy with you. That's
Definitely.
Magnus. And I think the writers did a really good job with, spreading the variations of each character, because it's not right what the clave is asking of these people. And, you do get some people submitting and some people rejecting the idea. And I think that's just inherently, some people will agree and some people will, what's the word I'm thinking of? Submit, and some people won't. So.
Yeah.
I also think based off that the people not submitting shows the strength of them in some way or another.
Well, I mean, it's a freedom of speech, and honestly, you're violating my personal space, beyond just no one asked Maya for DNA, they asked to put a tracking chip in her, which is, to me, insane, and I know we're not talking about The Handmaid's Tale, but I just recently watched the season finale of that show where they put tracking chips in people, so it's like this idea of a post, a future where people are using that kind of technology to save you, to protect you. It's just a bunch of jargon for saying that they want to control you.
Yeah. I love that. And actually, this relates to one of our viewers' questions. At Karina Storage says, "I'm so glad that Maya spoke about racial profiling in the last episode. Can we expect the show to stay in touch with more of those issues like that?" And I think they did with this episode. With the religious issues as well, for Simon and everything. And I do love how the show is doing that, because it really caters to everyone, and I love that about the show.
And that line it's fun, and I'm glad that it ended up making it into the episode, because that line wasn't in there when we did our original table read, and I went back with Zach, who wrote the episode. He did an amazing job, and I was just kind of, hey, we can't negate the fact that Maya's black and she's arrested for no reason, and it would be very much in line with Maya to call it out. How do you feel about that? Because and I brought up Simon as a reason, Simon brings his family into play, and we can choose to make it about the downworlders, or we can also show a direct comparison with how the mundanes do something, and we all in this collective don't agree with that, but what you're doing is very similar to it. So the writers came back and they wrote those wonderful words into Maya's mouth, and I think that scene just was so much better after their finessing.
I love that.
I agree. I think it fits Maya.
Yeah, and I think I've said since maybe the first 3 episodes of this entire series that even though this is this crazy supernatural show, things that definitely don't exist in this world, it's political and worldly, and it really mirrors in some way things that are going on in the world.
And I really enjoy that about the show, and I think the thing that's even more fun is that, you alienate someone when you say I'm a conservative or I'm a progressive or whatever, but in a world where it's all make-believe, you have the flexibility to talk about things without necessarily having to call them out. And yes, in this episode we did directly call out actual literal things that have happened to people, and but not in a way that was trying to make a self-serving point. It was just, laying it out there for fans to kind of decide whether they agree with the clave or not.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
love that. Yeah.
And just to finish up, Clary and Simon's thing, she gets attacked, which was a very scary scene with her being dragged away like that.
No, not Clary.
Yeah, and he saves her, but he won't leave her side, and then he gets thrown in the cell in the Institute, and we have some interesting. The cell's being used a lot this season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I was like, wow, we never really saw this part of the show, or like the Institute. Now we're just seeing it episode after episode.
And I love that. Well, I don't love it, but that was my first time working in the Institute. I was like, of course Maya would be arrested. That's how she ends up in the Institute.
Well, let's get into everything Maya, and we're gonna get into some specifics. So
She's so badass.
Yeah, she's real cool. I'm really starting to have her be one of my favorite characters, and there's so many characters, so that's saying a lot, and I'm not just saying it because Alisha is sitting next to me. But after this episode, I thought she was so cool. So first scene, like we talked about with Simon and Clary, Maya and Jace were also there, and we see some banter there, we see some build up. I think they're being pretty nice to each other considering everything that has happened and that's going to happen. And we see this Kaylee person who I believe we saw was she one of the girls that Jace
In his book club.
Yeah, that when he went off
his educational book club.
Yeah.
With a bunch of hot sealies. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. And I love what you said to him. Maya said she gives him words of advice that he should spare the downworld of his charm for a little bit. That, the soul sword ignited killing a whole lot of people, so maybe you're not that charming that you can get away with these people who hate you.
Or it's not that he's not charming, but that just like even with your charm, you can't win everybody over because you did something that was in their eyes it was horrible, but to some people they don't necessarily understand that it wasn't his fault, that he didn't know. Yeah. So, yeah, I love that scene. It's actually, I think, one of my favorite scenes with Maya and Jace, because just watching them both watch the people that they have interest in and then, like, realizing that they're both on the same level, kind of, was fun. And so, obviously, that comes full circle.
Well, and it starts to build that they're kind of in the same place, even though they're on different teams-ish. They still are going through something that's very similar that unites them together, because it doesn't matter if you're a werewolf, if you are a shadowhunter or a vampire, there are certain things that every being goes through. Seeing someone you care about with someone else, that
a similar aspect to life.
Yeah, feeling like an outsider a little bit. So they definitely bonded on that. And then there's the scene with Maya and Jace and the chip, which I was so badass and so cool.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
it was. Can you tell us a little bit about that scene? I'm sure there was a lot of stunt work. What was all that like?
So the scene in general was difficult because Jace is carrying out an order that he doesn't necessarily agree with. And so he isn't really posing a very strong argument when he's having a conversation with Maya. If you go back and rewatch it, you can feel that hesitation and you can feel like he's like, look, I just really just need to do this thing.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, you're just following orders and you're not necessarily listening to what you're saying, and that's why I don't agree with you. And so when they do start fighting, it took I had been bugging the writers for ages to write a fight scene in for me, and so after taking some boxing lessons, the stunt coordinator Darren, who's wonderful, kind of saw my level of skill, and then what I was interested in. We talked about how we kind of think werewolves fight, a little more bar brawly, a little more like, you know, like not like the fancy footwork that you see with Shadowhunters, and they're not going to work with swords or anything like that. They're using their fists. They're doing straight kicks or side kicks. There's no like roundhouse kicks or whatever. And so, you know, it's a little more brawly, and we worked on that, and then I worked on my part, and then since Dom is way more talented at stunts than I am, he came in, learned it in like 2 minutes, and was like, all right, we'll just keep doing it until you're ready.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
That's not fair, Dom.
I love how she's like you said, bar brawly and all that kind of stuff, because it's like, you know, everyone else is like these beautiful sword techniques and everything. You're just like, I'm just gonna come in and kick your ass, like.
Yeah,
and they have to work. They have to work so hard, and like it's we're so lucky with this cast that everyone truly enjoys the stunt work, and I love going in and watching, you know, Kat and Dom and Matt just work in the dojo and learn. You know, we see they cut together these like raw basic videos that they send to network for approval, like, and also to help the actors kind of remember exactly what we did. And you know, so we'll show each other like, well, this is the scene that we're going to be working on, and I'm just always impressed with what they come up with and the skill level. Like that fight with Alec and Jace, I think in episode 11. That was such a funny, like, I love that, and they're so creative. Like, but they really they had a stunt double come in just in case I, you know, bailed on what we had figured out we were gonna do, but they didn't end up needing her. I did everything myself. Wow. So yeah,
so cool.
It was super fun. Thanks.
That's so
oh my
cool.
gosh, thank you.
You killed it.
It was so much fun, and you know, I think with every person who's like attacking, you also have the receiving end, and Dom was just like very supportive and, you know, made me feel super comfortable, so that when we did the scene, like, you know, if anything was uncomfortable, we would voice it, but everyone had a really, really great time.
That's cool.
Well, I just loved Dom's response when he knew what you were gonna do, and he goes, don't, like, no, and it just zooms in on his face, and he looks freaking terrified, and he's like, don't do it, and you're just like, boom, I'm like, damn, throws him.
Lights out.
That, I think that is the moment in this episode I go, okay, now I think she's one of my favorite characters, right?
Like, he's not fighting back, and she's just like,
she's like, I'm just gonna go for it.
Well, it's also a testament that, you know, he respects women, he respects her. I don't think he'd ever hit any woman in general unless she was, I don't think that
circle member, she was, you know,
there was no stopping her, but he wasn't, he was just taking it, and you were just giving it.
Yeah, and I think part of why he took it was because in his gut, I don't think he disagreed with her. And so you can't fight in something you don't inherently believe in, and I think that's part of why he didn't fight back.
Yeah.
Well, I think the reason throughout this episode that he is doing what he's doing is because he just wants to make his family proud.
Yes.
The only person he knows is his family.
Right.
I love though how you're like, you're so offended that he puts a tracking chip in you, but then like once he tries to be all nice about it, you're like, I still don't forgive you.
She's like, I'm not gonna say thank you.
Yeah, like you literally just like held me down and like shoved this thing in my neck. Like I'm not gonna say thank you for digging it out.
No.
Someone said ding ding ding, Maya won.
Exactly.
Danielle McGrath.
That's funny.
But not for long. She gets taken into the Institute. Another Shadowhunter is murdered, and it, you know, that wasn't fair at all. That she was walking home from work around the same block, and
I'm just like, don't you think that their tracking chips would be able to zero in on exact locations? Like, you were in the general area, so we're taking you in. Jeez.
I know. And
Who else was in the general area?
and I love how they said something about, it's New York, everyone's a block away.
Yeah. Like,
go on.
it's like in Clueless, you know, it takes 20 minutes to get anywhere in LA, which is a lie, actually.
Yeah.
So in this moment also, though, see a building moment between Clary and Maya, which we see again a little bit later, but I liked that. I like girls becoming friends. Maya tried to kill Clary. Clary's, understands where she's, coming from. And when, well, not exactly that, but she forgave her. But she understands right now where Maya's coming from, because once Maya said, dude, they put a chip in me. And she goes, are you serious right now, everybody? This is ridiculous. So Maya gets taken down to be with Simon in the cell, and they have a really fun back and forth, and it's not too long ago that we were rooting for them a little bit, and I think there's parts of us that are still rooting for them. This is such a long history of a show. Everyone is basically going to get together that we want at some point.
At some point. And then it gets taken away from us, and then maybe gives back a few seasons later,
Right now, I can keep up with a few more episodes or a few more seasons of Climb In.
You think so?
Yeah.
I'm down for it.
For that scene, I think it was just super important for you to recognize that Simon and Maya don't hold any hard feelings against each other.
That was really sweet.
You put them both in a situation that they don't want to be in, so you force them to talk about it, and even though they are seemingly on good terms, it's, Maya recognizing that he is really happy with Clary, and that, whether or not that's something she necessarily wants, seeing someone you care about be happy is paramount. So
yeah, and I love that. I was gonna say I love that Maya truly cares about Simon.
Yeah.
So if Chloe does break his heart, which she probably will, then he has someone to go running to.
Hold on a second.
Wait,
She's not the backup girl.
I am not playing backup to anybody.
Well, yeah.
Well, but I will
too.
Yeah.
I will say that if anything bad ever happened to Simon, Maya would definitely lend an ear.
Yeah,
I don't know that she would
exactly.
lend anything else.
That part, just as a friend.
She'd be like, you had your chance, vampire.
Yeah.
No.
I would do that too.
But I do think it's important. These scenes are important because, first of all, it's bringing Maya into the core Shadow Squad. And they're making relationships on their own, friendship, whatever you want to call it. And she's involved now. She's part of this. And it's going to become much bigger. And I'm excited now that she's kind of in the group.
Yeah,
I mean,
she's definitely very fast, working her way into the group, and that's the cool thing about
Mole.
it. She's like, I'm gonna get him.
She's like, I'm working for Valentine, guys.
Oh my gosh.
No,
That would be a twist.
That would be
definitely not working for Valentine. Let's touch quickly on Alec and Magnus. And of course, Magnus and Dot. Interesting scenes.
I liked that scene.
I did.
Becca, you're just all about the infidelity. Hold on.
No, but I did.
No, Becca likes the
was
dancing.
Okay, all right.
No, I was mad. I was really mad at Dot.
I mean, she was just wanting to kind of be there for him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you can't forget that this show happens very fast.
Yeah.
So literally, Magnus was tortured,
A dig.
and then he comes home, tries to cheer himself up, and his boyfriend just pissed him off.
Yeah.
So he goes on a little bit of a bender, and here's one of his old soul friends to be there for him. What a fun time, and it's just unfortunate that she took it a little bit too far.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I would love to dance with a warlock now, though, because apparently you can
Jump buildings.
jump,
Or
and then he stops you. It's like getting too close. I'm gonna pull you back. It was a lot of fun, and it was kind of a sexy scene. Speaking of things that are kind of sexy, not gonna lie, guys, underwear can be a little bit sexy.
Good transition.
So there's something real quick I want to tell you guys about. It's a company that's an underwear company. It's a lot of fun. It's called Me Undies, and I have tried some before. They're very comfortable, and they have new artists design the art on underwear like every month.
Wow.
Yeah, which is a lot of cool. It's unfortunate that you can't walk out with them in public and
Yeah.
show everybody, but
I mean, you could.
You just sag your pants down just a little bit.
yeah, just to show them the art. And so if you're used to buying packs of comfortable, boring underwear that only come in white, gray, black, or tan, MeUndies will literally change your life. And this month is a rainbow confetti print called Celebrate.
Ooh.
So you all should give MeUndies a try. Go to the Celebrate pattern before they're all gone at MeUndies.com/buzz, and you will save 20% off of your first pair. So you're going to get, again, 20% plus free shipping at MeUndies.com/buzz. That's BUZZ right now. And I would say take pictures and send them to us, but I think that might not be very appropriate. But in your mind, you know, I think we'll feel
mental
it.
pictures.
Yes, mental pictures.
Take a snap and send it to a friend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Alicia.
Don't
yeah.
send it to me.
Yeah, right.
Don't
Alright.
send it to any of us, but I think a couple of us here have tried MeUndies, and I thought it was a good segue to just let you guys
Yeah.
know that you're going to get a good deal by listening to us.
Not only
Yeah.
that, but like we're talking about giving MeUndies a try. I mean, I think Jason and Maya kind of gave each other's a try a little bit. So.
Oh, look at that double segue.
They
Oh
did.
Boom.
we segued in and we
And
segued
right out.
Now, back into the show. Speaking of sexy, let's talk about Izzy.
Okay.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Okay, the first scene, the way she made her entrance into this episode was like, I was like, yes, queen.
Yeah, you know, she's getting back on
elevator
her feet.
Yep.
Literally, we see Max again, adorable
Aw.
Max,
Oh,
who,
he's so cute.
and he's very Izzy-like, because I would
Yes.
assume that Izzy as a child probably wanted to try everything, and
I want to go out in the real world.
yeah, exactly. And we have this whole Raphael, Izzy confrontation. They still have some chemistry. They still care about each other. And they're trying to figure out who's doing all of this. And Raphael thinks it's Meliorn. And we see him come back in a very compromising position, standing over a dead body with runes torn out. So it doesn't look very good for him.
No, it does not. And that's the thing is,
looks kinda
I mean,
sketchy.
I automatically was like, okay, I could see his point why he's doing this because, you know, he's been upset with the Clave and everything going on before. So I didn't think it was much of a jump to be like, yes, he's responsible, but I don't know.
Yeah.
He's got a good alibi, kind of.
It was a little too easy, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. We might, well, not might. He's coming in next week.
Yay!
Yeah.
Jade,
Jade
who,
is
yes,
wonderful.
he's wonderful. He's going to be coming in next week, so you guys will get
I'm
to talk to
excited.
him.
But we're gonna be a
Next
new tape
Thursday.
time.
Yes, it will tweet it out this coming week, but it's going to be a ton of fun. And Max gets himself into trouble. They end up saving him, and we get a call back to the beginning of the episode where we see that Kaylee girl, that she's the one that is behind all of this. And
Allegedly.
I was like, I didn't like you when I first saw you in this episode. So.
Yeah.
Because she has like werewolf claws. She has like
all the things
all the
that
things
you
to
need.
stage
Instruments,
it.
too.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
all of the instruments down there. And poor Max, you know, he's a little sorry at the end for getting himself in that situation. But this is when Izzy proves that I'm back, guys.
Yeah.
She's
Right?
like, boom. She kills her, stabs her right in the back. And that leads us to the end. What's up, Becca?
What up?
Cassidy on the chat said, #protect Max Lightwood 2017. So,
Yep.
let's get that
got
trending.
that got a little scary there for a while, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's too adorable.
He's
guy.
adorable.
He must be
Like, you
protected
can't
at all
kill him.
costs.
You
Cute
can't.
little boy.
He's so cute.
So this end montage, which I just, we were trying to find the song, Simon's song to start with. I was having a hard time, but I feel like next week it will be all over the internet, hopefully. Simon goes to do his performance. He's very nervous. There's a big crowd because he's, again, very popular now.
Now that he's a daylighter.
Yeah, now that he's a
Yeah.
daylighter. We have a nice Clary
Popular kid.
and Maya moment.
Yeah.
Give her, it's on me.
I mean,
Basis of a real friendship,
just like people were like, whoa, Jay said sorry. Like, I don't know that Maya has ever said sorry.
Yeah.
I think she apologized to Simon for hurting Clary, but never apologized to Clary for it. But that's her.
Yeah.
That's her olive branch. Is
Yeah.
a beer.
Here's a beer.
I know. Maya is a girl true to my heart, I think, right?
Yeah.
So we also, in this montage at the end, we see Alec and Magnus come back together. They say, I love you. They make up. We're on good terms with them now. It was really nice. We got a good kiss. Got some nice fan service there, which, you know, Malik fans always appreciate greatly.
I appreciated it greatly.
And then lastly, before we get into questions, the Jace and Maya scene. We're going to call them Jaima.
Jaima?
That sounds a little weird.
Not quite.
That sounds a little too weird.
Jaya.
Jaima.
Where is this?
Jaya.
It sounds like maple syrup.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Jemima.
Yeah. We're going to do some brainstorming with this over the next
The
week.
chat says Jaya.
Jaya?
I think when we were shooting, the collective was Jaya.
Okay.
And then Mace was thrown around, but then rejected.
Okay.
It's whatever you guys care. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't really, it's whatever you guys want it to be. But yeah, I will say that when we were coming up with a ship name, Jaya was the one.
I like
Well,
it.
mace is what you spray people in the eyes with, as we
Yeah.
were discussing before this started. So maybe not mace.
It's a bit aggressive. And like we said, there were mixed feelings about this, apparently, which I was shocked to hear when I got here, because I loved it. That was awesome.
It was a little spicy, a little steamy.
It was something.
I know. I think it was maybe one of the most intense, like, sexual scenes that Freeform's thrown around.
Did you lick his ass?
That's what someone. That's what
Yes.
Teen Girl 24 asked
Yeah,
in the
she was
chat.
like, did Maya really just
That's
lick
what-
his
that's
ass?
what we were laughing about earlier.
Two things I will say is it feels super steamy because there was so much tension between these two people for literally 10 episodes. So you can't negate that, and that fuels the scene. So like if it was anyone else and they behaved the same way, you'd be like, oh, it's a hot scene. But like there is so much tension between those two characters that it just is inherently like, you know, so racy. And yeah, it is a little like literally on the more suggestive side than what you've seen previously. But no, I did not lick his abs.
You did not? I could have sworn I saw a little tongue.
I mean, if you need to
Maybe.
slow-mo it and zoom in,
Okay.
do what you gotta
Do
do.
what you gotta do.
She's an animal.
You're
She
gonna
can do
get a bunch of,
whatever
like,
she wants.
screenshots.
She's kind of like a wolf, a dog. You know, they lick, so I mean.
Yeah.
Okay, she's not a dog,
She's
so
a whale.
let's just squash that
Let's
right
put that
there.
right there.
That's offensive.
Don't piss Maya off. She'll throw you across the room. She's a wolf.
But I think the scene, you know, because I think, you know, we've thought very much about how that scene would play out, and the director Michael Goy, Dom, and myself all agreed that, you know, maybe it's Jace the one that makes the initial jump into it, but then it's Maya who just kind of
Goes with
dominates
it.
the entire situation. And because we were trying to be sensitive to the fact that like he did kind of violate her by, you know, or not him specifically, but that other Shadowhunter did put the tracking chip in her, and we want to, you know, make sure that you know that this is something that she's totally down for, and that she's making it clear that this is literally what we both need right now. And I don't want you thinking that I think it's anything more than that.
Very true.
Yeah, she really took over and was like, look, this is not gonna be anything. This is just right now.
Yeah, I was like, I need to take a page out of Maya's book and just kind of like tell, you know, they're like, I'm in charge. I just think it's nice to kind of have a woman say, I'm in charge. You're not going to tell me how this relationship, or if there is any relationship, how it's going to go. This is on my terms now, especially because you just stuck a chip in me and took it out. So, you know.
You can't make this stuff up.
I know, it's really amazing.
I love it.
So we are going to skip over predictions today because we
Yes.
have so many questions for you. We only have a few minutes left. I am going to start off with the questions saying, okay, Vivian Betancourt, Happy Free Lonely, asked, ask Maya what's her favorite scene of 2B.
Ooh.
Well,
Ask Alisha.
Yeah.
I'll definitely say that doing the fight scene was my favorite in terms of like technical just learning. But I will hint at my second favorite episode, 13 being the most favorite, is episode 18, because various reasons. So I will say my favorite scene is somewhere in 18.
Keep that in your guys' brains, everybody. 18. All right. What about you guys? What do we got?
Okay, at Sapik Smizzy wants to know, will the topic of Maya being an alpha ever be brought up between her and Luke?
I think it's always kind of an unspoken thing because she's kind of been playing more of his right hand gal lately, and so you're starting to see her take on a couple more taking more of a presence in negotiations within the pack, like when you had Russell kind of challenging him. You know, she did step in and sort of diffuse that situation so it didn't have to end in a fight.
Yeah.
So you will see her taking more and more roles, but her vying for the alpha, and we literally just talked about it, would mean that 2 people would have to fight to the death. So I don't know if you want that.
Yeah.
No. I think Luke and Maya will try very hard to have that not happen.
Yeah.
They can like co-parent all the wolves. You know?
Yeah, let's have a co-parent situation.
What about you, Becca? What do you got?
Well, a fan Twitter you have, Alisha W fans, asked, in real life, can you identify with Maya?
Yeah, I think I am so in awe of anybody that is not afraid of confrontation if it means that they can clearly get their point across. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't take anything from anybody. And but beyond all that, she's incredibly compassionate and is willing to do anything for people that she really cares about. Those are all traits that I think anyone would want. Mm-hmm. People sometimes don't like her because she doesn't do what they want her to do. And but I mean, if you're looking at it from a TV perspective, she kind of creates that conflict that makes it more of an interesting experience for all the other characters on the show. So whether or not you like her is kind of irrelevant because she is an awesome character. And she does, whenever she's doing something you don't like, it's usually to create some sort of, conflict to push the story forward.
Yeah.
Well, we like her, so
Yeah.
that's
I
all
love
that
her.
matters.
Awesome. Cynthia at Insane Petrova said, what's the most challenging thing in playing Maya?
That's a great question. I will say, like, working in an ensemble cast is both challenging and fun. Seeing where your story fits into the grand scheme of everything is always something you need to be mindful of. So I would say, just making sure that my cog in the whole machine is making it all work together. But on a personal level, I don't necessarily find playing Maya super challenging. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it allows me to be creative and kind of play. There's a lot of humor in her character. So those are all opportunities to be fun and creative.
Yeah, but I mean, I think even when you came into the show, it was kind of coming in, I would say, sophomore year of high school, where everybody's friends and you're just trying to make sure you fit in and do a good job. But like I said, I think that we are seeing a lot of development
It's
there.
a credit to the cast that everyone's super friendly. Like,
oh, yeah.
All of the cast are just so welcoming. And as we've been shooting, I'm just always blown away by how generous they are with their advice and their time. And, we have a lot of fun.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to do 2 more.
Okay, all right. So at Black Granger wants to know, who are you closest with in the Shadowhunters cast?
That's a great question. I will say all of us that tend to be, Alberto, Kat, and Dom and I and Jade do hang out a lot in Toronto. But then everyone's always invited to everything. And so Emerald and Mad and Harry and Isaiah, we all do hang out together. But I guess Alberto and I do have that quality of both being from Florida. So we do, being in Toronto, we miss our families and stuff like that. So we have that connection. But I'd say it's a pretty even playing field. We're all pretty close.
That's awesome. That's really cool to hear.
The first time you were in, we talked about the werewolf transformation. So, Karina asked, can we expect more werewolf transformations anytime soon?
Yes.
Yes. All right.
That is a great way to end the show because we cannot wait. That is still one of the most terrifying, crazy things I've seen on television.
That effect was so cool.
Yes.
I still can't get over it.
So one more time for the fans, where can everyone find you on social media?
Instagram, Alisha Wainwright, and Twitter, Wainwright AE.
All right, you guys can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Mr. Dakota T. Jones.
Y'all can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Becca B Talks TV, and Dakota and I are recapping Stitchers right after this.
Yes.
So stay tuned.
And you guys can find me, Sam Davidson, at samdavidsonentertainment.com, Twitter and Instagram at samd43. And as we teased a little bit earlier, we do have a special guest next week on a different day. We're going to tweet out all of the info for that. Thank you again so much for coming in, Alisha. We love having you here, and we will see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.